we have Emilio. I'm very excited. G'day, mate. Nice to meet you. No. You got to guess. You get 3 guesses.
What's in the esky?
What's in the esky?
Wow. I know Matt likes bourbon. I don't know if that's is it an alcoholic present for our host?
If it was bourbon, he probably wouldn't chill it, would he?
This is true. Okay.
Is it pickled crab?
Nah, not pickled crab. One more guess.
Is it a beverage of sorts?
It's a beverage.
Is it a beer?
It is a beer.
Is it a Cooper's Pale Ale?
Nah, it's a good old hard-earned VB, mate.
Oh. Thank you very much.
Nice and chilled.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you. Growing up, we always made fun of VB, and I joined in because as a South Australian... All right. As a South Australian, I was taught to hate Victorians from birth. And now after the severe lockdowns, I realise we were right. But I am excited to try this and actually give you my honest opinion.
I love it.
All right, is it a twist-off?
It's a twist-off. That's what you call masculinity.
I don't like it.
Jason, do you like it?
I like red wine.
It's definitely bitter. They say bitter, and it is bitter.
Oh, it's crisp. I love
It is.
it.
It's very cold. I'd drink almost anything if it was this cold, though. It helps. It is lovely to have you.
Thank you anyway.
Nice to have you. Nice to be here.
So, where are you from, and why are you wearing that hat?
So, my name is Emilio. I'm 27, from Sydney, Chester Hill. My parish is St. Charbel, Spongeborough. Shout out to all the Maronites.
RCIA!
And I'm here to talk about, with you gentlemen, masculinity and the struggles that men go through today with trying to reach that level of manhood that they want to attain. You know, I guess what God's design for masculinity is. And I'd like for you guys to talk about that design, God's design.
One thing that comes to mind for me is that men learn manhood from men. You know, we need to be in the presence of guys that we admire. And I think if we were hanging out with guys or girls or whatever who aren't really living a life of pursuing virtue, what you tend to see is their sins and your virtues. But then when you hang out with people that are virtuous, you tend to see their virtues and your sins. And as a result, you tend to ascend more quickly in the interior life. So I think one of the biggest keys is just surrounding yourself with godly men. I remember a friend of mine, I had just a phone call recently with him, and he's like, yeah, I was talking to, Matt, this guy from college. You remember him? I'm like, yeah, I knew who he was. I didn't know him real well. And he's like, yeah, I've been friends with him for a while. And I said, I just talked to him the other day. He said, he gets up at 4:30 in the morning to start his morning prayers. So he's got 1.5 to 2 hours of prayer life each morning before his wife and kids wake up. So he knows how. And I'm like, whoa, yeah. I was like, I get up a little early for prayer, but it ain't 2 hours, man. But that conversation, I've just been ruminating on it for a while. Like, do I take my interior life seriously enough? And that's the fruit of just one little passing conversation of being around the right kind of guys. And so I think it's so important not only to have guys in your life that you're with that are solid, but the saints that you look up to. I in particular, not only St. John Paul II, but like St. Joseph. Yeah. And there's a lot of bad Catholic art that shows him as an elderly man, which is really... No, I mean, the typical guy at that age would get married at 18, because God told him, hey, go get married, go from, Nazareth to Bethlehem to Egypt to Nazareth. Like, you're not going to do that with a walker. It's not, even if there's tennis balls underneath, you're not going to get there. It's like going to have... And so Joseph's like he's a carpenter, not only carpenter, like construction worker, masonry worker, and to have this image that I like to brew on, stew on in terms of St. Joseph, that God took the most beautiful woman who's ever existed and to entrust her spotless purity and innocence to a man, chose a college-aged guy. Because his love was not a threat to her purity, his love was the safeguard of her purity. Yeah. And so the more time we spend just ruminating on the lives of the saints, surrounding ourselves with authentic Catholic men, the more likely it is to rub off on us. Matt?
Yeah, masculinity. I think we can't get away from the fact that we currently live in a society that doesn't know what men are, women are, marriage is, or sex is. That's not hyperbole. What is a woman? I don't know. Or we think sex is any kind of sexual genital act. We don't know what it is. We don't know what marriage is, So consequently, I think we're very, very confused. And I think one way men, Catholic men, could grow in masculinity is by not looking to the inverse of these toxic feminists, namely these red-pilled men.
Yeah.
This seems to me to be effeminate, actually.
Yep.
I'm sure you've thought about this a lot.
Yeah, we talked about this afternoon with the high school kids. Aquinas' definition of effeminacy is when a man refuses to let go of what is pleasurable in order to do what is arduous, difficult, and good. And so you might have these machismo, red pill, Andrew Tate type guys that look exteriorly very machismo. And they have elements of masculinity, of discipline and athleticism and physical strength. But the question is, okay, is this authentic masculinity, or is there a level of effeminacy here? That do I even know how to say no to the pleasure? Do I have an inordinate attachment to the pleasure, and I have this hyper masculinization going on? And I think this is why a lot of women are fed up and leaving the dating scene, like, because it's not because of toxic masculinity, because if it was masculine, it wouldn't be toxic. It's toxic effeminacy.
Lack of masculinity is the problem.
Yeah, because something I'd like to touch up on is about when I say living God's, like the God's design for masculinity, is one of those things that I like to say is being able to, what's the word? I forgot it.
Maronite, the Lebanese men are some of the most manly looking dudes I've ever met.
Thank you, sir.
You're one of them.
Thank you, sir.
So what would your advice be to me and Jason and other men who really want to be... Did I say something funny?
Look, my friends call me the masculine hero for some reason.
Oh.
Look, for me, a good man is someone who knows his value and his virtues. Someone that he works hard for the glorification of God and to support his family and friends. He's not like he's very giving. He lives his prayer life as well as he can. Some people can obviously live it this much, some people can this much, as long as you do it to the best of your ability. And another question that I had was, does a woman become more feminine when the man is truly masculine?
Oh, let me tell you this, because I know.
As you can tell, I'm nervous.
Permit me to be a little vulnerable here. My wife and I have only recently, in the last few years, experienced this new wave of healing. And it's been very beautiful. When I was raised and when my wife was raised, you're raised in disordered relationships and you learn disordered behaviors, which you justify, rationalize, know no other way. And then you come into this marriage, And then you have this way of relating where one way of relating kind of enables the other, and this person's way of relating maybe enables the other, and you kind of think it's normal until you start to heal, and then you realize you now have to relate in a different way. And so what I mean is this: I think I came into marriage with just these very unmasculine behaviors. I was raised in a country town in South Australia where you don't really have close mates who you share your heart with, your fears with, you do that with a woman or two. And I'm not even a sexual way, but just like your friends. I had a lot of close women friends who I'd share my heart with. And then the fellas, maybe after the 4th VB, I'd start to share with them, but not before, Whereas my wife was sort of raised to sort of like, she was the peacekeeper in her family, right? So she had to make sure everyone was okay, because there was some bad stuff going on at times, And so then we come into this marriage, and I hadn't learned how to bear my burden on behalf of her. I really didn't. So instead, I would like kind of just dump all this stuff on her, kind of this emotional stuff on her. And she felt that she had to regulate my emotional state, because that was the role she played in her family. And so that was kind of keeping me in this unmasculine state, whereas she kind of almost had this more of a masculine role in just trying to keep me at peace. I mean, both were disordered, but now what's happening is, it's been so beautiful. Like, she has become softer because she's beginning to trust that my strength will step up for her and allow her to be soft. So to your question, I know that when I'm good to my wife and she knows I've got her, I've got the family, we're okay, then she can relax. And when she relaxes, she becomes softer. And when she's softer, I find her much more attractive, quite honestly. Just like she finds me more attractive if I'm stronger.
Yeah.
So that's been a beautiful thing. It's weird to learn how to relate to a woman you've been living with for the last 17 years now in a slightly different way as you begin to untwist, what sin did. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things I wanted to touch up on as well was the men controlling their passions and emotions. Not that a man can't be emotional, but what I mean by that is like those passions that lead us to sin and like those emotions that lead us to sin as well. There's very bad sins. That's something that I reckon we got to have under control as well. I reckon if a man doesn't have that under control, that's when he spirals out of control. That's something that I like to spread as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple principle that you either govern your passions or your passions govern you. And that's the difference between a boy and a man. And so the man learns to kind of conquer himself for the sake of the woman as opposed to conquering the woman for the sake of himself.
Yeah.
And I think what really kind of inspires guys, not only that masculinity, as Matt was highlighting, can kind of inspire authentic femininity, but authentic femininity inspires authentic masculinity.
Yeah,
when she's
100%.
in a posture of receptivity and trust, it makes the man want to step up a bit, so that he can show that I can do this. I can step into this place, as opposed to when she's in a place of distrust, not feeling safe, and needing to grasp and take control, then it just becomes this battle.
Yeah,
Whereas if she can be in that place of trust, then you hear, St. Paul talk about submit to your husbands and, the defensiveness. But if you read the rest of the chapter and that he's willing to crucify himself for her, well, that's a mission. If she's got a husband willing to do that, then she's going to be able to fall under that mission of
That's
self-sacrifice. But I think that's why it's so important for guys to have a devotion to Our Lady, because just her authentic femininity inspires authentic masculinity.
100% correct.
Yeah, I guess in summation, I would say, read we should, all of us, myself included, look to the saints. Don't look to modern day people that X or Twitter is pushing out there, or, who's popular today as far as being manly. No, look to the saints and look to Our Lady, because there's a lot of imposters, I think, today.
Yeah, 100%.
You're a good man. It's
Thank
nice
you,
to
sir.
talk with you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the beer.
I just got one more thing.
What?
Just one more thing.
One more beer?
No, one more thing.
Please no.
So I've got a gift for you guys.
Okay.
Wow.
Did you hear that was the estrogen that went up in the room again?
So I made these.
Did you?
Wow.
Saint Charbel guard you, and Saint
Wow.
Veronica Giuliani guard you.
Thank
Is it
you.
blessed yet?
Yes, Father Sheldon blessed them.
Thank you.
And then,
Thank you.
and then, the last thing, you asked me a question about the hat.
Yeah.
So I walked into a hat shop one day, and I needed a new hat, and I was like, "What is the most conservative hat I can find?" It was "Don't mess with Texas."
Texas.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Check it out.